Chair recognizes the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Kinzinger, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Bill Clinton once said, when asked what his greatest regret was of his time in office, he said his greatest regret was failure to act on the genocide in Rwanda. Mr. Speaker, today, over almost 500,000 Syrians have been killed by a brutal dictator, Bashar al-Assad. Now, what I think is important to note, a lot of the times when we talk about something happening somewhere that's not here, we think of it as something that doesn't affect us because these people may look different, maybe they speak a different language, maybe they worship a different God, and frankly, it's oceans away. Mr. Speaker, right here is just a picture of a number of Syrian children. These are children that are having their lives torn up by war. It's children, in fact, just like these, that in past years were gassed by Bashar al-Assad. Now, I want you to imagine that, gassing. As you drown, knowing that you are taking among your last breaths. As your mom and dad sit there and are filled with the same chemical weapons and watching their children die. It's tragic. That was done indiscriminately by Bashar al-Assad, but that's nothing new for him. Bashar al-Assad learned from the greatest man he knew, his father, who leveled cities and killed tens of thousands who dared disobey his will, the will of one man. So in 2011, these generations of repressed Syrians who do not like to live under dictatorships, humanity does not like to be oppressed and live under dictatorships. These millions of citizens rose up and began to peacefully protest their dictator. Now, how did the dictator respond? Did he talk about reforms that could be done to government? No. He responded with tanks, with armies, with murder, and he responded with chemical weapons. The United States and other countries were rightfully concerned with what was going on, and a red line was placed by our president. That red line was not adhered to. Bashar al-Assad got away with using chemical weapons at no cost, no penalty. So this brutal civil war continues. Children, women are among the chief targets, by the way, of the regime because they believe it inflicts more pain per capita on the population than killing a man. So they target them specifically. They continue to die. The West thought they negotiated, the president thought he negotiated a ceasefire. But yet, in the end of April, a Doctors Without Border hospital was bombed. Was it the one we hear so much about in Afghanistan, the mistaken bombing of a Doctors Without Border hospital that was tragically done by American military? No, not that one, as tragic as that is. But the regime of Bashar al-Assad killed over 60 people in a Doctors Without Border hospital, despite a ceasefire that's occurring. Now we're back at the table hoping to make this one ceasefire actually stick. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately in this campaign season, people have been seductively lured into the idea that America's responsibility now is just to come home and lick our wounds. You know, I believe that America has a mission. It's a God-inspired mission, and it's a mission to be an example to billions of people of self-governance, to be an example of human rights and dignity. But it's also in our self-interest to be involved. What is the brutal dictator of Bashar al-Assad? What has he done besides tragically killing almost 500,000 people, as if that's not bad enough? Bashar al-Assad has created an area for ISIS to spawn and breed. ISIS wouldn't be in existence today if Syria was a stable country, potentially under democratic rule, because the people wouldn't turn to it. Bashar al-Assad created and incubates ISIS. Fact. Bashar al-Assad brutalizes his people, and you cannot fix the situation in Syria with Bashar al-Assad remaining in existence. It may not be popular to say. People may say, well, what, you want to intervene in another Middle Eastern war? No, I don't want to. But I'll tell you, Mr. Speaker, America has a mission, and if we forget that mission, if we wake up, if the president someday in an interview says, my greatest regret was inaction in Syria, That's on all of us too. These children, they want to be teachers, they want to be police officers, they want to have kids of their own someday. Don't forget their voices. I yield back.